And so this is an opportunity to help provide that transparency. This meeting was created because this administration and because this DTSC team believes in that transparency. And so that is why we are having these public meetings. During the past 3 years, we have spent a significant amount of time identifying issues and identifying and creating work plans to help us fix those foundational issues. That is the first step in a very methodical, and I know that this is sometimes can be a painful process, in making a long and enduring change. And this is not a quick fix. It is not maybe the fix that has happened in the past, but this is a fix that we believe that is different than those from the past because it will be enduring. So what we're going to report on today is not that plans, but how we're implementing those plans. We've moved from that identifying the problems to creating the plans to implementing those plans. And so today you're going to hear about how we are institutionalizing and making strong systematic change, what we are doing to make these changes part of the very fabric of DTSC, and how those changes will greatly enhance the ability of DTSC to perform its core mission to protect the public health and the environment.
I'm here today to talk to you about the findings of a recent state audit and our response to those recommendations. Further, I'd like to take this opportunity to share our cost recovery progress. During DTSC's 26-year history, our central mission has always been to protect the public and the environment. To that end, we have spent $1.9 billion during that period to clean up contamination. That work has been transformational. We've turned toxic waste dumps into space for parks, schools, homes, and businesses. We've removed petroleum products and toxic solvents from groundwater underneath schools and replaced soil contamination from lead from low-income housing complexes in Los Angeles. Along with that primary mission, DTSC also has a responsibility to be good stewards of taxpayer dollars. We operate on a polluter pays principle. Simply put, those who cause the pollution should pay for regulation and cleanup, not the taxpayer. Historically, though, we've been better at the cleanup than the bill collecting. But I'm here today to tell you how we're changing that. We are different now. Last month, the California State Auditor's Office released a report on its findings of our cost recovery efforts. The report detailed that between 1987 and 2013, DTSC did not collect $194 million. It validates what we know, that the department has made progress and has procedures in place to keep us moving in the right direction. DTSC has made sweeping changes in its procedures, and we are aggressively pursuing cost recovery cases. As a result, we've reduced the number of sites with outstanding costs from 2,700 to less than 1,600, a 40% reduction. Also, we have reduced the total amount of outstanding cleanup costs by more than $24 million. That $24 million figure includes cash collected and settlements paid. It also includes data cleanup. For instance, if we receive grant money but had not applied that to our costs, or it could be write-offs that we cannot collect, which may happen if a responsible party does not have adequate funds to pay. We don't know exactly how much money we've collected, although we are working to better track that information. The state auditor noted that our financial computing system is so archaic that it severely limits what kinds of reports we can create, and therefore what kinds of information we can get. Adding new reports could literally cause the system to crash. Also, because we are part of a state effort to move to a new billing system, we have been prohibited from spending money to make changes. We have been able to gather some numbers, and I can say that we've brought in at least $2.1 million. The audit did find some problems and made 11 recommendations, and we have a plan on how to address each one of those. But before I get into audit specifics, I'd like to provide some background. Until recently, standardized cost recovery procedures did not exist at DTSC. Computer systems used by people in the field and those in our billing office weren't linked, and information often wasn't shared. Sometimes cleanup would be initiated to protect the public, and only later was cost recovery considered. Project managers, those scientists and engineers who oversaw the technical cleanup, were also placed in charge of bill collection. Recovering money is often complex and time-consuming. It's not simply a matter of dropping a bill into the mail. Let me tell you about one example. In the mid-1980s, DTSC was called to the city of Davis to oversee cleanup efforts at a pesticide sales company called Frontier Fertilizer. For more than a decade, one company and then another had been operating at the site and illegally dumping chemicals into an unlined basin. Mace Ranch, a residential subdivision, was 800 feet north. The community only learned of this dangerous practice, thank you, after a dog fell into the dumping pit and died from exposure to the toxics. The chemicals found there are linked to human health problems, ranging from infertility, genetic abnormalities, and cancerous cell growth. DTSC discovered a plume had spread beneath the homes, had contaminated groundwater, and was threatening the city's drinking water supply. Swift cleanup was crucial. DTSC and the Regional Water Quality Control Board oversaw initial remediation of the site. Soil was removed, monitoring and excavation wells were installed. At various times, the YOLO DA, the U.S. EPA's National Enforcement Investigation Center, and the FBI were involved. Eventually, the U.S. Attorney filed criminal action, and some parties pleaded guilty. Collection, however, wasn't an easy matter. In February 1991, the department filed suit against Frontier Fertilizer, its owner, and other defendants. Frontier and their owners appealed, and the case spent years in the courts. DTSC eventually prevailed, but then it was determined that judgments of $90 million stemming from other legal action had already been issued against the parties. So collection by DTSC was unlikely. We did settle with some responsible parties for more than $486,000. But as of April 2014, there was more than $4.3 million still owed to us. We have determined that that site is what we term an orphan, which means there is no viable party that can pay the bill. For the past 3 years, DTSC has embarked on an unflinching reform effort. That included a public disclosure on May 31st, 2013, that our unrecovered cost recovery amount was $184.5 million. This was for the period July 1987 through December 2012. A cost recovery team began tackling the backlog, and they went combing through our cranky database and manually reviewed records for more than 10,000 sites. In November 2013, DTSC issued sweeping procedure changes and clarified roles and responsibilities for employees. During DTSC's history, our cost recovery problems have been identified and re-identified, but only quick fixes implemented. What those drills lacked and why our solution is different now is fundamental change. For the first time, we have a standardized written process and clear roles and responsibilities. Because of the extent of our problems and the size of the task ahead, the legislature this year approved more resources, 1.6 million and 14 positions to help us attack this work. Some of those positions are what we call administrative program managers, those who are responsible for many billing tasks, leaving the technical project managers to deal with cleanup issues. Also, I was appointed by the governor to lead DTSC's cost recovery reform efforts. I started in January, and on my very first day, the auditors were in the building having their first cost recovery briefing. As the audit team began their investigations, DTSC was beginning to train our employees on our new procedures. That training went through February and March of this year. The auditors wrapped up their field work in the spring. In July, the 2-year positions approved by the legislature took effect. We committed to analyzing all our sites by the end of the 2-year term and collecting as much money as possible. On August 7th, the state auditor released its report. They included another year of data, which increased our total outstanding amount to $194 million. In the future, as we report on our progress, we will use that number as a baseline. From that $194 million, we've already made progress. As I noted before, we've already resolved $24 million. Also, DTSC has referred numerous cases to the Office of the Attorney General, and nearly $63 million is the subject of litigation or bankruptcy action. As we continue to analyze our backlog, it is anticipated that more will end up in litigation and will result in dollars collected. In some cases, DTSC has determined that we won't be able to collect on our costs. Often, as in the Davis example, we determine that that site is an orphan. Also, we've confirmed that some sites were erroneously placed on our list and they have zero balances. We've taken those off our to-do list. We continue our site-by-site analysis to determine if there are more cases where it warrants a data cleanup response rather than cost recovery. The auditor recommended we look into whether it makes sense to write off small costs of less than $5,000. Right now, that's more than 50% of our total number of sites. Sometimes the work necessary to collect on a bill costs more than what is owed. So what do? We have had, and we will continue to have, conversations with the Department of Finance and the Controller's Office on when it is appropriate to write off costs. What's left then for us are 450 sites totaling $101 million. We have identified that our top priority cases should be those with balances of $1 million and above, and those with pending statutes of limitations of any amount. Using those priorities to guide us, we have created a list of 52 sites. We will work methodically down that list to sites of less than $1 million next. One of the audit's findings was that DTSC was unlikely to recover all of its costs. That is true, and it's also no secret. We've said this publicly from the beginning. As I explained, this may be because they are orphan sites with no viable party to collect from. It may be appropriate to write off costs. There may be mistakes that we need to clean up in a data cleanup effort. Sometimes we come to a settlement for less than the amount that is owed. We might settle because a responsible party is unable to pay the full bill. Litigation can sometimes take decades and cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, and sometimes it may be more prudent to avoid that cost. The audit did find that some of our procedures were lacking or were not followed. We'll be required to report on our progress in 60 days, in 6 months, and in a year. By October, the auditor recommends we establish a process to monitor and verify proper review and approval of our responsible party searches. That's the information we gather to help us determine who should pay the cleanup bill. Already, we have formed a team to revise our search procedures to include review and sign-off from supervisors. Also by October, we will revise our process for updating and monitoring the log we keep on the collection letters that we send. In addition, we're setting up a tracking mechanism for statute of limitations so we don't miss the opportunities to collect. Going forward, the cost recovery team is implementing a work plan to ensure we don't repeat the mistakes of the past. Number one, we're professionalizing our procedures. As I mentioned, drafting the 27 procedures has been a huge step. These are being refined now to comply with audit recommendations and employee input. After employees have a chance to work with these a bit and get the kinks out, we will issue a comprehensive cost recovery policy next year. Secondly, we are training on the new procedures. Earlier this year, we trained about 400 employees with cost recovery responsibilities. Employees with significant cost recovery responsibilities will receive further targeted training by the end of the year. And finally, we are underscoring the importance of accountability and transparency. We're creating performance metrics and will publicly report on our progress. Our next milestone will be to report to the auditor in October, and we expect to announce more accomplishments at that time. Crucial, fundamental change has not only been implemented at DTSC, it has been embraced by the many committed people who are working towards the outcomes I've outlined. We've identified our problems, dramatically recast our procedures to address them, and have created timelines for resolution that will be transparent. More importantly, significant momentum has been established, and we eagerly await our opportunity to report to you regarding our mission and produce the results that the people of California expect and deserve.